as 2023 draws to a close, it is time to talk about the favorite watches we saw this year from your favorite brand, Rolex.
Rolex.
So, Watches and Wonders this year, we got to see a lot of the stuff live, and I feel like we're around the corner from Watches and Wonders again.
We are. I think, and for as far as Rolex goes, they announced most of it at Watches and Wonders, right? We didn't have a ton of surprises throughout the year.
Well, the only real big surprise, and heck, man, I'll just jump to the spoiler. The best watch I think I've ever seen from Rolex was that 100th anniversary Daytona thing.
Yes. I knew this was going to be high on your list of all the ones this year.
It's like I'm not even counting it as like one of my favorite watches from Rolex this year, simply because we won't see one. I mean, it's not real production. It's a limited edition, maybe. It's still kind of vague on that one, but just such a spectacular watch, such a nostalgia trip. They did such a good job with it.
I was going to say, what did you like about it? The nostalgia?
Yeah, I mean, it's bringing back that old dial. I mean, you can't go wrong there. It's as cool as Steve McQueen. Exhibition back, that little blip of red on the 100.
Really
I mean, just
nice.
everything about the watch. It just absolutely knocked it out of the park. As I would have assumed they would, but I really would have liked to have seen it in like stainless steel and general production. But and that little change at the movement, the 24-hour, just a little nod to the race. But just such a cool watch. But again. If you get one and you happen to be around the Scottsdale area, please bring it in. I need to see that watch.
Come show George. He needs to see it. Since we're touching, we did a whole video on the Daytonas, which we'll link. But I would say a highlight for me from the Rolex world was the Daytona update. Seeing it now, though, actually in person. We kind of saw it at Watches and Wonders, and you were like, it's not that big of a deal, to be honest. But there's this weird thing in the Rolex world this year. Either they do the littlest change, and it's the biggest thing in the world, i.e. the updated Daytona, or they do the most out there thing in the world, like the emoji dial that you can never, and that works too. And so it's like, what's going on? It's very confusing.
Well, I did, at one point during the year, I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but I actually did as close as I'll ever get to like an angry rant. And it was mildly directed at Big Green, but it was some of the decision making. It's so strange with those guys. Logic fails.
But isn't it also maybe the best PR move, because then people just keep we keep talking about it.
For good or bad, we're talking about it. Yeah, it's crazy. But from that monstrosity of a 50 millimeter.
Let's talk about it. I can see it building up within you.
I mean, we might as well start with like the worst things from Rolex this year, because I think that's kind of more interesting.
That's on it for you, yeah.
You nailed it. That puzzle dial. I just can't. It actually makes me angry, and I don't know why. I think it's supposed to make people feel like peace and love, and I look at that watch and it's just so like, why?
It's more of a PR piece. You know, you're not going to see it in general production. We saw it on a couple wrists this year. Big collectors, big celebrities, people you would expect to see it on. I think it's a PR piece. I think it gets us talking. It's like, why the heck not? Emojis are in right now. I don't know.
You know what? And you make a solid point. I might as well put that on the same tier as that Daytona I love so much, because I don't think it's a general population piece. I think it's something we're going to see incredibly rarely. So that might be a good thing.
Let's go back to your 50 millimeter, because I know you need to get this off your chest.
It's just so grotesquely out of proportion. You guys will remember the very, very first Deepsea and how ill received it was. It was proportionately not right. It was on a really anemic bracelet.
I remember this.
So it's big, thick piece, and I had kind of thought they learned their lesson. They kind of shaved it out and redid it, and then they come out with this thing, and it's the same story all over again.
Yeah.
Only plus is the titanium. I thought that was actually really cool.
That makes sense.
If you're going to do a grotesquely large piece, do it in titanium, make it a little bit more wearable. But everyone I know who's tried it on, I started getting all these like wrist rolls like right off the bat, and it was just a big thonk.
So big.
The size of the back of your hand. It was just ridiculous.
But do you not think it's similar to Panerai releasing some 50 millimeters as, you know, these historic references? They know it's not for everyone.
And they did do it as a direct look back to their Deepsea challenge.
Yeah.
So I guess there is some integrity there. That might be a stretch. But and again, I don't think it's something we're going to see a whole lot of. I think the few guys who are going to buy it are going to be big guys. They're going to be able to wear it, so it might seem proportional.
Or you want it as a desk clock.
But that can dovetail right into one of my favorite watches of the year.
Do it, yeah.
Yacht-Master 42 titanium. Just spectacular. I mean, we didn't even bother to review it. I mean, we talked about it briefly.
Because it seemed maybe kind of basic at the time, or it wasn't a huge shift, and then you've got an emoji dial on a 50 millimeter, and that's where all the focus went. But you're right, let's talk about it.
And the whole reason not to talk about it is, it's perfect. They did it exactly right. The proportions are good. I mean, I jokingly referred to it, I liked it the first time around when it was the Pelagos. I feel like they tested the waters with the Tudor and realized they can do something pretty cool in this space. And the RLX titanium, which is like the most Rolex thing ever. But the bezel, everything, I want to see it on an Oyster Flex.
Okay,
I think I was just talking to that with a buddy of mine the other day, and I think that would knock it out of the park, man. Maybe prediction. Yeah, it comes on a rubber strap, but that would just be dynamite. I think that was one of the strongest watches we'll see.
Rolex is still doing a lot right.
Yeah.
We talk about all these. Now I'm going to deepen them like the PR pieces, but they're still doing a lot right, and that's a good example of something that wasn't talked about a ton. I want to make a case for the 1908.
Yes.
Because when we first saw it in person, I was like, this is a really nice looking watch. And then it kind of got dragged through the mud online this year. And I want to go back. It's still a great looking watch. That railroad track with the fluted bezel to me is so appealing, but it's still a really nice dress watch. So there's little details like that, but still plays in the overall dress watch feel. The observatory hand, with the circle at the end, the sword minute hand. In person, thought it looked really nice. I think the one thing working against it is the price point. You get into $22,000, $23,000. There's a lot of other watches you can buy at that price point. So I really think this is for a Rolex enthusiast, this watch.
For me, what struck me right off the bat, Cellini was never well loved as a Rolex watch. Mm-hmm. And I always thought it was Rolex trying to do something that's not necessarily in their wheelhouse. It was Rolex doing something to help you complete your collection if you want to stay with the brand. So we have to do this thing.
God, we have to do
it felt forced. It felt unnatural. And then when I saw the 1908, I want to say 1905, because again, there's a little controversy over the 1908 versus 1905 thing. But put that aside. But when you first look at the 1908 from across the room, you go, oh, that's a Rolex. Mm-hmm. And there's something about the 912-3 on it, the way the dial's laid out. It's Rolex doing their dress watch, and I really, really, really liked it. I was that was going to be my surprise to you. I thought
that was my surprise.
That was one of my absolute tops of the year. We kept going back, we kept looking at it.
Yeah,
and it's really weird for me. I don't do dress watches in white metals with black dials, but that one in particular, I would absolutely make an exception for. It's got that wonderful really vintage nostalgia feel. I just thought it was spectacular.
I also think the other thing maybe working against, and this would be my complaints, my thing about Rolex this year, but I think it's more of a me issue, is that we now go to Watches and Wonders, which used to just be an industry event, as in you're a dealer, and here the brands are saying, here's all our watches for the upcoming year. Pick out, what you think you can sell, and then we'll produce that. Now it's gotten more involved with the public, which is great. Sure. Internet, social media, everyone's posting it, fine. But we're seeing all these watches, and then we're not seeing them in person. And I think as a society right now, we're trained to see something, I want it now. And I noticed that with myself. Yeah. And we saw these great watches, and then you don't see them released. And then I find myself being like, well, I already saw it. It's supposed to be released.
Yeah, but Amazon will have it to me by 3 p.m.
Yeah. And that's like not how the watch world works. I mean, they have to produce these items, and it'll be interesting to see where we go in the future. Can't help but think there's a lot of people like me who kind of want it now, and you have to remember, oh no, this is watches. Yeah, it's not Amazon. This isn't fast fashion.
Well, and especially as passionate watch people, but it's also our line of work. Mm-hmm. You develop all this momentum, you get all this electricity, this chutzpah for this watch, and then we get it, or you finally see it about 2 weeks before the next show.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's really hard to keep that momentum going and get people excited about it. Because by the time you get your hands on it, they're like, well, let's see what they come out with this year. It's like, no, it'll be another year before we see that.
Yes, good point.
And if there is, and it's not a Rolex thing, I think that's an industry complaint from me.
Yes, that's how I feel. It'll be interesting to see how we move forward in the future.
Yeah, I don't think our industry is one that needs to reinvent itself every year, but that's actually for a different video.
And on that note, I don't think we're going to waste our time doing any Rolex predictions for 2024.
You know what? Maybe Ryan and I will do one because I wanted my predictions to actually come true. And again, I talked about it earlier. Applying logic to Rolex, it just fails. Yeah. It makes no sense what they're going to do. And anybody who tells you they know what Rolex is doing is lying to you. Mm-hmm. The guys who were saying that the Pepsi is going away, those are guys who have a lot lot of Pepsis to sell. I don't.